In the following presentations, I want to show you the VISUS outcomes in detail and the safety upgrading strategies that can be defined through the use of these outcomes and indicators. The VISUS multi-hazard methodology aims at providing three main types of outcomes. Outcomes concerning the safety situation, outcomes concerning the safety upgrading needs that are obviously linked to the outcomes concerning the safety situation, and outcomes concerning the status, the quality of the conditions of the school complex. These outcomes are provided considering multi-hazard aspects, so considering the ordinary use, the fire, the water, the earthquake and air-related hazards. Moreover, we just added the biological hazard to the multi-hazard safety assessment. In the previous presentation, we have seen that the VISUS methodology aims at performing a triage assessment and assigns a judgment to the school complex assessed. This assessment is assigned considering an analogy, in this case an analogy with a class, with the evaluation that the teachers applies to students. In a class, the teacher uses some criteria and evaluates the students through a report card assigning final judgments, and a final global judgment is assigned to each student. In a similar way, we wanted to assign a judgment to the school complex. In this case, there is no more obviously the teacher, but there is the VISUS inspector, the inspector, that looks at the situation of the school buildings, considering some criteria. He assigns some evaluations in a report concerning the VISUS, the safety issues we have seen in the previous presentation. So for each school building, he or she assigns a report, and considering the overall assignments, a final global judgment is assigned to the school complex. So, what does the VISUS methodology in order to assess the learning facilities? The VISUS methodology provides a set of outcomes. Here I just summarize the outcomes, and then we will see them in detail in the next slides. So, first of all, VISUS provides a set of graphical indicators on safety situation, on safety upgrading needs, and on school characteristics. Then, the VISUS methodology creates individual reports comprising a technical description of outcomes for each school assessed. The VISUS methodology creates also a collective report presenting an overview of the outcomes for all the schools assessed by the methodology. The data are all acquired and stored in a database, together with all the survey and outcomes information. So, the school characteristics and the general information, the safety indicators, the intervention and the resources needed. This database could be linked to the EMIS database in each country. Finally, also some maps, usually web maps, are created with the geolocation of each school and the summary of the outcomes. I just want to summarize all the graphical indicators used by VISUS in order to represent the outcomes. The outcomes concern the safety situation, the safety upgrading needs, and the status. The indicators allow us to understand where there are the safety problems concerning in the school, so in the location in the school and ME buildings. What are the issues and what are the causes connected to each problem, and which is the overall multi-hazard safety judgment. We will see all these indicators in detail later. Then the indicators allow us to answer to the question how to upgrade the safety with a suggested assessment indication of the safety upgrading action, and how much would the upgrading cost in terms of as a preliminary estimation in terms of budget allocation, and also what is the quality of the school, so the status of the school assessed. In detail, concerning the VISUS safety indicators, we can recognize the safety warning levels that are indicators represented through these 3 degrees of levels, where warning level 0, green, indicates no concerns for personal safety. Warning level 1, orange, indicate potential difficulties for personal safety. Warning level 2, red, indicate potentially severe consequences for personal safety. Moreover, the indicators are summarized using the VISUS warning rows that is assigned to each building, considering each hazard or considering all hazards together. In this case, this rows summarizes the outcomes for the entire school complex, so is the envelope of all the rows assigned to all the facilities and considering all the hazard. And we can see that for the location side and for the structural global, there are no needles, so the warning level is 0, no upgrading is needed, there is the absence of element of concerns, while there is a short needle for the local envelope safety issues. This means that there is a warning level 1, so upgrading is needed to avoid difficult situations for personal safety. In this case, the short needle is linked to air hazard evaluations. We have a long needle referring to warning level 2, so upgrading is needed to avoid heavy consequences for personal safety in case of ordinary use of the structure for the non-structural content evaluations. Finally, we have still a short needle, so warning level 1, for the functionality issues, safety issues, and we see that this needle is related to ordinary use, water and air-related hazards. The safety assessments are summarized by the VISUS safety stars. For each hazard and for each facility, the VISUS safety stars represent the overall judgment in terms of performance of that facility for that hazard. So the meaning is, as I told you in a previous presentation, that no star is assigned if the site is unsuitable. The first star is assigned when the site is suitable. The second star is assigned in case of stability of the building. The third star is assigned for life safeguarded performance. The fourth star for rapid resume of operation, and 5 stars are assigned in the case of immediately operational performance. Then there is an indicator concerning the VISUS multi-hazard safety stars. The VISUS multi-hazard safety stars are assigned for the entire school complex and provide an overall summary of the judgment to all the school learning facilities and to the schoolyard. Each ray of the star corresponds to an hazard. And so a ray is filled when the number of stars is assigned to that hazard. Very simply, in this example, we have for the above ray that corresponds to the ordinary use 1, 2, 3 stars assigned for that school complex. For fire hazard, we have 4 stars assigned. For water hazard, we have 5 stars assigned. For earthquake hazard, we have only 2 stars assigned, and for air-related hazard, we have 3 stars assigned. So, the star is completely filled, only while all the rays are filled, so we have only 2 multi-hazard stars, while in order to achieve the third multi-hazard star, here it's possible to see that it is enough to fix the problems concerning the earthquake hazard, and it is possible that the entire school complex is, for a multi-hazard assessment, life safeguard evaluated. Instead, in order to reach the 4 stars for all the hazard in a multi-hazard perspective, it is necessary to intervene considering ordinary use, air and earthquake hazard, and so on. The VISUS indicators are then expressed also for the safety upgrading actions, and they permit to represent the safety upgrading action classes suggested in order to upgrade the safety of the school complex. These classes are the following: the relocation of the entire school, the reconstruction of the school complex, the retrofitting of the learning facilities, the refurbishment of the learning facilities, or the restoration self-made of the learning facilities. Specific criteria for assigning these safety upgrading action classes are defined in the VISUS guidelines. Then, another summary indicator for the safety upgrading actions is the upgrading requirement class. That is this indicator here, where the class assigned refers to the percentage of the amount required in order to improve the building. So in this case, the improvement of the buildings, the safe improvement of the buildings, require the 20 to 40% of the cost of a new construction of the school with the same number of the classrooms according to the reference construction standards. Finally, there is an indicator that refers to the budget allocation range. So it is reported a minimum number and a maximum number of US dollar that are estimated in order to implement the safety upgrading actions. Finally, there are VISUS indicators for the status, and these indicators are defined through 3 levels, going from the worst case to the best case, and they concern the accessibility to the school, for example through ramps, water and sanitation situation, maintenance situation, comfort in the classrooms, presence of equipment, and the security. As I previously anticipated you, the outcomes of the survey and the results of the evaluations are detailedly reported in individual reports for each school complex. This report consists in multiple pages that summarize the outcomes and report all the information also acquired and interpreted after the survey. So there is a page concerning the school characteristics and the summary of the evaluations, and pages concerning the specific evaluation for each learning facility. In detail, I show you an example, an extract from a pilot project developed in the past. We can see the information of the school here, with its school code, the picture of the school, the sketch done by the surveyors, the number of students, the number of teachers or personnel in the schools, the number of buildings in the schools, the reference hazard used for the evaluation, and then the outcomes, the summary outcomes for the entire school complex, using the VISUS safety rows, the VISUS multi-hazard safety stars, and all the indicators I previously showed you. There is then for each learning facility, in this case, a summary of the evaluation. In this case, there is evaluation for the location, so a summary of the evaluations, and for the schoolyard, with the pictures that explain why some specific judgments were assigned. Also, for each building, there are the summary of the evaluation and a very short summary of the characteristics of the building, the safety evaluation and the status evaluation. These are specific technical description of the outcomes, and this is a photographic reportage done by the surveyors. The individual report distinguishes between main buildings, that was the previous example, and ancillary buildings, and allows for the identification of the characteristics. As I anticipated previously, the VISUS outcomes consist also in a collective report with a summary of the outcomes for all the schools assessed during the project. In the collective report, there are different types of information. There is a summary of the information, of all the information acquired during the project, and this summary is then providing some statistics on the results, on the outcomes of acquired during the surveys. So concerning, for example, how many schools are 3 stars, how many schools have 2 stars, how many schools require relocation, how many students were involved during this survey, how many students go in a school with, for example, 1 star only, and so on. Then there are the summary panels concerning the summary of the outcomes for each school. So we will see in detail each of this panel. And there are maps, web maps, with the geolocation of each school and the summary of the outcomes. Concerning the VISUS panel, the summary panels, here we have 2 examples. As you can see in the panels, here I removed all the relevant information. The panels allow to identify the school, know what type, what grade of level is taught in that school, the school characteristics, the school art area, how much main buildings there are, if they are permanent, semi-permanent or temporary, the number of ancillary buildings, or divided considering permanent, semi-permanent and temporary buildings, the number of classrooms, the number of people in the school, and an estimation of the size of a school according to predefined criteria. A summary of the status for conditions, so considering accessibility, water and sanitation, maintenance, and so on. And a summary of the VISUS multi-hazard assessment, considering the safety, the safety situation that is reported using the warning levels for the location, for the schoolyard, for the main buildings and for the ancillary buildings. In the last 2 cases, the worst case is reported. So if there is 1 main building red, so with severe consequences potential, and 5 main buildings with no consequences, here these indicators report the red condition because it's the worst condition among all the buildings. The VISUS safety rows is reported here together with the multi-hazard VISUS safety stars. the safety upgrading action classes are reported for the school complex. In this case, it indicates that there are required two main types of action classes: retrofitting and refurbishment. And the identification of the safety upgrading actions for each building, considering what type of intervention, and dividing location, schoolyard, intervention on main buildings. So in this case, there are light intervention on 800 square meters of main buildings, and heavy intervention on 690 square meters buildings, and ancillary buildings, so 12 square meters of buildings require light intervention. Finally, the budget allocation indicators consist in the identification of the upgrading requirement class and of the estimated range for the final resources required for the safety upgrading. And this is another example of building of a summary panel for another building. Finally, all the data are summarized in a map where, in correspondence of each of the location of each school, a marker is reported. The marker can vary depending on the layer that is visualized. In this case, the number of multi-hazard safety stars is reported, and when it is clicked on each school, on the marker of each school, a pop-up opens with the summary data for that school and a link where it is possible to download the detailed individual report and the VISUS panel for that school. The assessment results of the VISUS methodology are also available through a database that can be linked to the EMIS of each country. This database collects all the survey data and all the outcomes of the evaluations. And through this database, it is possible to build the individual reports, the collective reports, the web maps, and also the statistics presented in the collective reports. I want to show you how the VISUS outcomes can be used in order to define safety upgrading strategies according to decision makers' rules and criteria. In order to define the safety upgrading strategies, it is necessary that decision makers interact with VISUS experts. In fact, the outcomes of VISUS methodology enable decision makers to develop various safety upgrading strategies, depending on their own criteria and rules. The safety upgrading strategies can be, for example, the prioritization by exposure to a specific hazard or to multiple hazards, considering, for example, the ordinary use. The prioritization by physical vulnerability of the learning facilities. The prioritization by number of occupants. The prioritization by type of critical issue defined, for example, structural critical issues, non-structural critical issues, problems of location, and so on, or a combination of these criteria or other criteria depending on the data acquired either during the survey or the data created after the evaluation, so using the indicators. So it is possible to define not only one strategy, but multiple strategies depending on the request of the criteria of the decision makers. So the VISUS database allows to upgrade the school safety by defining an action plan, for example, considering different priorities. One example could be plotting the number of stars and the number of occupants, and identifying, for example, the areas where there are less stars and more occupants, for example, the orange area here, as this orange area could be the area with higher priority. Then the area where less stars there are but less occupants could be a second area of priority, and this light blue area could be a third priority area. But this is a choice of the decision maker. Another potential choice, as an example, could be, for example, representing the outcomes considering the multi-hazard safety stars and the budget for the safety upgrading, just to start with the schools that have less stars and require a budget under a certain threshold, or the stars or the buildings that require a budget above a certain threshold. Here you have another example of potential definition of strategies, and in this example we consider the multi-hazard safety stars and the people in the school. This example was derived from real case study developed during the past pilot projects, and so decision makers can use this information in order to decide with which schools start at the beginning. Here the sensible information obviously was hidden. Another example, in this case we have multidimensional graph, so we plotted the number of people in the school on the x-axis. So here we have schools with more people in this area. The budget allocation required in order to upgrade the safety for persons. So for each person in this school it is necessary to spend $100 for safety upgrading strategy intervention, and in these schools for safety upgrading intervention it is required almost $650. And the color of the star refers to the number of the stars achieved by the schools. So it is possible to prioritize also considering all this information and define on which schools start first. Other example of potential prioritization strategies. Here we have different graphs. A strategy could be the maximization of the number of schools. So with the available budget, the decision makers want to upgrade the safety of the maximum number of schools. So in order to do this, they must follow this pattern. Or if they want to maximize the number of persons involved for each spent dollar. So in this case, they need to follow the strategy described by this line here. Or they maybe want to assign the priority to the schools that have less stars, and in second order the schools that have more people. So first the schools with less stars and more people. And this is the gray line. You see that the lines are sensibly different. Or finally, another strategy, but these are really examples, and the decision makers can decide their own strategies. Another example of strategy can be to prioritize the schools that are more close to the life safety goal, so that with lower intervention they achieve the life safety performance level. And so this is the blue line, for example. All these can be potential strategies, some example of potential strategies, but many other are available and can be defined using the VISUS outcomes. Finally, I want to remark that the VISUS methodology can also be used as a monitoring tool just to check how the intervention performed on the school improved the safety of that school. In fact, if we have the situation acquired through the VISUS methodology before the interventions, we have a picture of the situation, of the current situation, of the pre-intervention situation, and we can define how many dollars are necessary to allocate for the intervention, which are the safety issues that require most attention, the performance of the school. Then it is possible to go in the detailed level of intervention. So it is possible to define and design the intervention and realize them on the schools, and this should be done by specialists that define in detail the intervention needs and the prioritization. And with this information it is possible also to re-evaluate in a second time the algorithms used for the VISUS methodology and improve the outcomes for next evaluations. Then, after the intervention, it is possible to apply again the VISUS methodology, and in this case, if the intervention correctly improved the safety of the school, the outcomes should show a rose with no needle, so there should be no warning level concerning the safety. The school should be 5-star schools, depending obviously on the level of intervention applied, but the school, that if the target was 5-star, the school should be 5 stars, and obviously there should be no need of other money for intervention because everything is fine. But it is possible to control and compare the amount used for the intervention with the amount foreseen before the intervention through the VISUS methodology.